the pleasure principle, due to my own inaccuracy and judgment when placing a title upon the screen, I realize that with regret, I was able to renegotiate the title for this vision of Guidance for the Soul live. It's live for those who care to join me in certain visions, but it's also very much of love of those souls who will watch in the future, perhaps, or those who are here to learn vicariously through the visions of love of who I am. Okay, this is where you all are. You are all in the vision of, I love who I am. Set me free from those who begrudge me my beauty, my wisdom, my dignity, my honor. I'm not here to serve everyone in their vision of who they think they need to be or who they think they are. We are who we are is where everyone is. But in essence, when you align with the vision of I love who I am here, that's where we want people to go. We want people to be more concerned about what this plane offers us to create from, what this plane enjoys from us, right? These are the people around us who adore us, or not, but we still create beauty with each other in our minds on the soul level. Not so much unless you're in the place in your mind that I love who I am, set me free from those who create the, quote, demons inside. Most of what people are hearing when they go through the process of soul is their own vision being brought back to them. And so when I said, ooh, I love this title, I didn't go with it initially because I had already placed the title of the idea of personal agenda, right? Personal agendas. This is part of it. I get to be free and clear of the vibration of those who set me free, right? Those who said, I don't believe you anymore. I don't think you have what it takes, Brenda, is what some souls will say. To what? Reach the zenith moment? This is her soul talking to her. I miss you as you are. I'm not here to try to be someone else's version of reality that they create with. And yet, I'm here on the screen, aligning with those who love who they are, because that's the nature of where we go. I free myself from those who say that I need to experience pain and suffering in order for them to feel good about who they are, or for them to free themselves from the beauty of their own limitations or their own soul that set them upon this plane in various circumstances to rise out of most often, or to experience certain conditions that will help them grow on the place and plane in which they themselves are living. We're living in the freedom of who we are. Let's enjoy it. I missed, right? I miss my family. That's where a lot of people go. And they say, free yourselves from us so you can create beauty with who you have in your heart everywhere, which is your own soul, your own soul's vision, your own soul's wisdom. And we do honor those on the other side of the veil, but we don't have to live out their lives for them. See, that's what many people are thinking, oh, I need to be a part of this group or this group because my family tree is part of this group, and therefore I have to be a part of that group. We're breaking free from the binds of faith in someone other than who we are in each and every moment. That's the beauty. It's also the pain. If we come into this vision too late, is what some souls would say. I didn't make it in an earlier day and time in which to rise up and create beauty for who I am, thinking that beauty is supposed to look a certain way, or feel a certain way, or expand in a certain way. So when we created with the pleasure principle, it's more like let's plant the idea that pleasure is fun and for us, right? Enjoyment of our world, expressions of joy and happiness. And when we can't find that in each other, That's when we say, I have to create it from a dynamic within that is so strong for who I am and what I create with. I love who I am. I set myself free from my soul sometimes. Sometimes I have to say, I need a break from the work that I did. I did a lot of work on the soul level regarding the ideas of others who are in this plane of love with all of us as well, telling us how to be or what we need to do in order to be free from who we are in our minds. Oh, that's so good. And when you combine with your own soul, everything is like, not really. It's about how high you can take your heart when you go into that idea that I'm with my own soul's beauty. I don't need another man to create the wisdom for me, yet I receive it in many ways. This is the beauty of us creating as groups or units of energy, to be honest. It's a unit of energy that we create with, and some units of energy are not as pleasant as others for us. It really does depend on what we focus on. We can focus on the beauty of who we are or the pain of who we thought we were or are. Some of us say, I have to flip a switch. Brenda flips a switch, and then she's all of a sudden in this vision of I'm there, I'm all there, and there's nothing more that I can be other than who I am. Me. Me, just me. No other source of wisdom needs to come through to tell me that I'm beautiful and wise and dignified in my being. I have some dignity moments, let's put it that way. Other moments I'm not so dignified in, according to various levels of understanding. I hear some disturbing thoughts sometimes, and I know those are lower aspects of where I reside with various family members or friends. And those are not the healthiest places for me to create from. And so I tend to wind myself up into this beautiful place of wisdom that says, I love you for who you are, even if I don't agree with you about certain aspects of what you think I need to be. I understand people need to be who they need to be. I need to be who I need to be. And when I say I'm wisdom embodied, that means I have it all figured out. I did the work that allowed for me to join with my own soul's highest wisdom that doesn't need outside influence in many ways. But it doesn't mean I get to enjoy the world as much as what I thought I would. This can be some of our own reflections on this idea that we just live in these high vibrations 24/7. Absolutely is where some people go. But most of us kind of rise and fall with our vibration, and our souls say, I keep you high enough to hear the wisdom 24/7. I do. Okay, I can wake up and then I will get the morning's ritual. I can wake up and I can hear the visions of love or not, depending on what I planted in the seed realm the night before. I want to be beautiful and wise, and the disguise comes off with your soul. I love who I am, set me free. That's what a lot of people are saying to those, quote, loved ones on the other side of the veil. They don't want to be antagonized or brutalized by everyone here. That's why we honor their vision without telling them there was something wrong with who they are. They're not in the vision of I'm a victim. We stop placing victimhood on those souls who've crossed over, who understand the nature of my accountability for my life was there. We are creative units of energy. We all honor the vision of what we created with each other, whether we like it or not. We blame others for our misfortune. We never give them the credit for the pleasure they brought us either. How many focus on the pleasure of uniting with people versus the pain, the suffering, right? This can be very much a one-sided vision, but it's very beautiful, very wise in its interpretation. So when others go through these changes in relationships, please remember to focus on the beauty of what you created together for the times in which you did, or the pain as a process of growth and love for yourself, that you made it through that process and you can fly free from it. I don't feel like I have to bow down before anyone, Christ vision, or any other soul's religious value system. I honor it, but I don't look at it as the end all be all for who I am to be, because it's not who I am, other than we're all uniting in the vision of each other. And so it's an aspect, if you look at it that way, of who I am as a collective. But I'm not saying that this is the expression I'm supposed to hold here on this plane, am I? That's the difference. I love my expression, set me free. This is where some people are. They don't feel correct in their hearts. They don't feel like they're wise. Most people are so wise about who they are. They live their lives free and clear of any energy that says that there's something wrong with them. But what we have to understand is when we go through our processes of soul and we align with the pleasure of my embodiment versus the pain, then you can start to create from the place that this is a beautiful place for me to be. My soul rocks me, in essence, so that I get the sensation of the energy that I create with my soul, as if it felt like it was an invasive energy. This is what some people will start to understand. But when we rise in our vibration, then it becomes a settling in. It's a settling in of our souls. And we say, this is a good spot. This is a good spot for us to do this kind of work. This is a great place, a great plane to do this kind of work, right? It doesn't have to be work. It can be enjoyment. The simplest little things can bring us joy as souls. Brenda's like a few minutes in the sun is like heaven. A simple cup of tea is beyond words, her survival in the world of soul sometimes. And I want to be honest with that vision. Sometimes it's not all pleasure, but I gain the pleasure in the simple things in life and enjoyment in the beauty of the wisdom that I receive from many others around me who are showing me aspects of my own soul. They're saying, this is who you are. You're mean sometimes in your mind. Sometimes it's, I'm not as conducive to the motherhood of the year role in how I treat myself. I beat up on myself for the littlest things sometimes that I didn't do for my children. How many are feeling that vision of, I don't need to feel anything other than love for the fact that I adore my children. I just don't get along with them all the time. That's the basics of it, right? How many of us understand the nature of that kind of love? Oh, it's a doozy, right? But this is why we want to talk about creating the pleasure with our families. Brenda gets told you need to have more fun with your children sometimes. And not so much, I'm just trying to create these beautiful children and turn them into responsible adults for their future endeavors into their lives. I don't plant the seeds that there's something wrong with them, but I do say there are certain things that will help you on this plane. And that's the understanding of it. They're loved and adored for who they are, no matter what gender they identify with, no matter whatever endeavor they decide to do for their lives. I want them to be free and clear of the conditioning of who I am, to think that they have to go down the same path as me. I want them to be free to do science or technology or medicine or creative, whatever creative endeavors, because all of those are creative endeavors. And yet, I massage my ego very much sometimes. This is an honest reflection. And that was the nature of going, I have to build myself up based on the negativity that I was surrounding myself with. Oh my gosh. People, the negativity is the pleasure for so many. And yet, we have to ask ourselves, what is it within I am taking pleasure at hurting others in my mind or on the screen that gets them to that place of feeling good? I'm taking others down so I can get my own agenda ahead, is where some of that idea of my personal agenda versus let's inspire ourselves to be beautiful and amazing and unique and wise and smart. To do the inspiration versus perspiration. It doesn't take hard work to give yourself a boost when you're with your soul. She knows it. I love who I am. I love my soul. I give my soul credit more often than not than those souls who come in and say, I'm wishing you well. Those are those souls that will say, I love who I am. Let me create with those souls who love who I am as well. And this is where Brenda says, sometimes we have those decisions that we need to make that can hurt other people's feelings because they're feeling like they're betrayed or they were left behind. And Brenda always says to herself, the art of letting go. I don't begrudge people who go along and leave me behind in their minds, but my soul doesn't let go. You see, and that's where a lot of people start to rise in the vision of, she's actually got some words of wisdom. Okay? And when we say that, it's with a heavy heart that we say goodbye sometimes. A lot of those ideas of, oh my gosh, now I'm free. And now I have my life back, perhaps. It hurts me to let people go. But sometimes it's a no-brainer, right? I've had people in my life who've hurt me in ways in which they themselves didn't understand. So that might be the communication that I didn't bring forth about my own vision of who I am to be. Or it could be an honest assessment of, I've asked multiple times not to hear this kind of, quote, wisdom of words brought to me in the manner in which I'm hearing. And I'm still getting that. It's a disrespectful vision is what I was hearing. And it was because I was also participating in that kind of exchange in some cases. Okay? My honor is my respect for the most part. You won't ever hear me disrespecting souls on the screen most often. It's very little, if any, that I do at this point because I have done so much love work in my mind and in my heart, and my soul won't do it. But my soul rides quietly with me, allowing me to express in a way that shows them, as a soul would, that I'm ready and free to create with the plenty that I have planted. And I get to see the bounty that I'm creating. It may not feel like it. Brenda sometimes feels like a little stagnant. But it's the cruising along that she needs right now. And she asked for that. She asked for the time to create her beauty in a way that was respectful for her situation. And that means that it's not always going to be the most pleasant. If she's not feeling the earth shake under her feet, right? She never hears the earthquake vision for the most part. She's not hearing it in the next 10 years anymore because she's not going to be landing here in this next century, right? She was hearing words of wisdom from those souls who are so far out in their projections of the end of the world that then they realize, oh, was I one of those people saying it was the end of the world? That's what happens, is many who claim they are projecting that this is a foretelling of the end of the world are starting to rise out of the nature of that and realize that was just one little tidbit of information that was coming through. It's not the whole enchilada of my belief system, right? We're not going to hold that against people for feeling like there might be something more coming to us. This is why she did, in fact, create with the vision of Billy Crystal this morning, because he, in essence, as a soul, because it was a soul creation from her soul to her, was saying it's about the Israeli fortune that many are projecting onto everyone versus the idea that our faith, our culture, is more about the love of all of us than many who claim that they are of various other levels of wisdom. It could be Christ, it could be anybody, whatever version. Okay, they are in the version of, we have different deities that we're working with on the soul level. And that's when people start to realize their version is, I want Christ versus I want God versus, various visions of what that means for them and their faith. But he's a stroking of the genius of his own soul. He knows he's a creative genius. And he says, wise words of comfort for many. I'm very quiet in my humbling of my soul's vision. When I realize, as Brenda has, that so many souls are now receiving death threats due to their alliance with one or more groups of people, versus those who are saying, we're all a part of this collective vision. Right? How do we go on in this world? She's getting an interesting medical intuition vision for someone else who's also on the line with her, saying, you saved my life. I set you free from the idea that you have to create from his pain, for his condition. Okay, but it's letting her know that that soul is still there. Which is a rock. It's like a rock diva also comes through. Okay, so she's in the vision of celebrity that people will say, oh, just because they're famous, they somehow represent the whole group of celebrities. And that's not what's happening. People have disparate visions of what it's like to be sad and mad over destruction of certain people and what that says to them. It's rude to tell people that there's not something to be angry about. It's rude, is what he was saying. And she's saying that's not who she is. People are justified in their emotions, always. Brenda will always say, I understand. I just don't place my focus there 24/7 because in essence, I know the wisdom of planting the seeds of pleasure as well. He's a comedic genius, and he acknowledged that. Okay? He's saying agnostic visions are where others in her field of vision are, right? And she's like, I understand what that means. Okay, I'm not of faith. I believe in the beauty of soul vision, so much so many honored visions of those honored masters, right? That mastered their own souls here on this plane, and that we acknowledge. That's the beauty of it. She loves who we are here, not just in the vision of the afterlife, who we are here. She can see people who are terrorists being considered loving for their families and friends. That's what is incredibly difficult for most people to get over or to get a hold of in their mind. They're showing us aspects of who we all are here on this plane, and how do we rise in that idea that we now know how to create beauty for us. And when we spread the word of love, faith in who we are here, inspirational joy for those who are working with it, I love who I am, is where Brenda is. It's a heart-centered soul that knows that it is very much wise to rise into the beauty of that heartfelt sentiment. Of those who are saying, I don't want to feel belittled because I'm angry, sad, mad. Dieting is her pleasure. They will give her those soul visions that she was angry about. I don't want to hear about this idea from men about who I am on the physical as much as what I am in my mental way of being. I'm a beautiful soul creating from planes of plenty, loving who I am, adoring my friends who also embody their own beautiful visions, whether or not they see it as beautiful or not. And then I know that I expand upon the vision that there's no one better here. It's not about saying we're a better human than another. It's about saying, let's embody those beautiful traits that we have that come natural to us. I am supposed to be on the screen, is where Brenda is, right? She's here giving beauty to everybody at the expense of her own soul sometimes. Because some souls come through and say, you're not acknowledging me as the most beautiful person in the world, and that's where I'm supposed to be, apparently, right? Really? Is this the nature of who we are? We focus so much on this idea of I got to project myself in a way that is alarming to some, beautiful to others. And then I let the chips fall where they fall. I rise in my wisdom. I open my eyes and I see the beauty of who I am, first and foremost. This is my first step, by the way, in the process that I use. It's one that my soul has been creating for me and validating with me along my path. The more that I love who I am, the more that I love others, is what some would say. Oh, but it is not as equal in the minds of psychology, is what others would say. Others are saying, I want to use psychological constructs to help lift me up out of the victimhood of what I am. That's beauty. Once you get there, you can utilize whatever tools of wisdom you want, and you just fly free from the nature of it, and you say, I love this vision of my soul that carries me through the night when I'm in pain or tears sometimes. I have that vision where I have been in pain and it has been taken from me. Not because I need it in that moment. It's because I'm setting myself free from the limitations of my body here. I feel the energy release various aspects of who I am. I no longer need to feel like I belong to another, as if they were owning who I was. I don't play games on the mind for the most part. I ask questions of souls. You'll know it, right? Who am I to say who you are, right? But those are those beautiful questions about saying, I love who I am when I just feel free from all of those negative labels that everyone is putting on me. Because I've deemed them myself to be negative for me. But it doesn't mean that they are for everybody. Okay, that's the beauty of the wisdom. Label yourself the most amazing things in the world, and guess what you get to create with? I am that. That's the embodiment. That's the embodiment and the pleasure in being able to say, this is who I am, and I love it. Okay, maybe others don't like it, but I know I don't need to leave it. I don't need to leave it. Right? Everyone is saying, oh, take off every label and just be. Be. Do I change my name? I don't need to do that, but it carries with it a vibration. Have we not figured out that spiraling of the vision? The issue is that many of us are like, I love this vision. So if some people are like, I love my family, my tree, everything about me, my mother, my father, they came together, they named me various things for various reasons, it fits like a glove. I'm not needing to eject from my family tree. I enjoy it. I cherish it. It brought me here in its vision. Our souls decide where we want to come in. But in essence, it's that beautiful density that gets taken away when I rise up out of the nature of needing to feel anything other than loving for myself. So that's where a lot of people are getting those messages that are kind of bogging us down. And others are saying it's doing more than that. It's causing a lot of problems because we're being told who we are is an issue on this plane. That's for another time and place. Let's keep it to the pleasure. But in all honesty, when we do this work, others will say, you honor those of our past. We don't discount their vision just because they didn't do things the way that we wish we would have done ourselves. If there's an issue to be corrected, by all means, let's go ahead and do that now. But stop blaming everybody else for our conditions. It's a collective unit of energy when we come to the nature of statehood or nations at large. Brenda's in a community that beats with her in various ways, and she protects them in her heart. She says, we're so good. Look at us here. We do have our own issues, but we're a vibrant community, and we're fucking thriving in many ways. That's her soul. Others are not. But she gives and donates very much so in hopes that people will start to see the rebuilding of their communities in a way in which all of us can prosper together. And that doesn't mean we kick out the people who prosper so that we can feel like we can get what? A leg up in this world? That's not how it works. We want everyone to feel beautiful. There's enough for everybody. That's what everyone... So this is that idea of lack, and everyone has like this collective idea that there's only so much to be had. Our souls can create so many amazing things together without us even knowing what it is. I will always replay a beautiful vision of a trip that got sent to me unbeknownst to me and one of my best friends. And it was perfect for us. It was an amazing discovery. Had I known I was going to get COVID, I might have said thanks, but no thanks. But we both survived. We didn't know because COVID wasn't discovered yet. Okay? But I got told when we needed to go to London. Okay? In 2019. I was given a timeline about a beautiful trip that we were going to create. And it was known there was going to be a reason for it. And it was because that trip wouldn't have happened had it not been done in a matter of 2 to 3 months. She blew it by not making it 2 months because it was more like 2 months. But she had to squeak through 3 months due to her friend's lack of... It's like the convincing of her took time, you know, to say, trust our souls. Our souls are working together. So I want to work with your souls. Whoever is watching, our souls are creating together. And even if you don't agree with who I am or how I portray myself, I'll say thank you. I understand. It's the nature of the beauty of who we are. And even if you don't agree with the ideas or how they're portrayed based on what you create with, that's okay. Our souls are doing a lot of mixing of energy. Okay? Wherever we walk, we create. But when we come into those visions of our soul relationships, that's when we start getting some havoc handed to us if we're not creating from a place of, I accept and love you for who you are, whether or not you're hurting me or not, right? That's a different soul. That's a different perception. Okay? We don't have to accept the pain and discomfort of this world anymore. We say hasta la vista to those who want to create havoc for us. We honestly do. Because this world is meant to be enjoyed at this point in time. And how people find their pleasure is where most people need to look and say, what makes me happy is not what makes other people happy. This is Brenda 101. Okay? Don't assume that what makes you happy is what's going to make someone else happy or feel good about who they are. Don't assume that letting people know that there's pain points that are coming through for certain souls is a problem sometimes. Okay? We want you to know that it's okay to have those moments. Brenda gets those as well. I get those visions of, oh, that didn't feel good. Oh, that didn't feel good. And then I have to let it ride and then set it free. So speaking of setting it free, it's about time for us to wind this soul session down. And so I want to remind everyone one last time, like, subscribe. If you feel like you want to do that, you want to hear more. And also remember that focusing on your beauty, your pain, your discomfort is not where we want people to go. Focus on the I'm of love always, no matter what. That's the first step. I'm of love no matter what. So with that, I want to say thank you for watching. And remember, stay curious, wise, and soulful. Have a wonderful day.